Most people don't see life as it really is. They only see what their mind can handle. They see half the picture, the half that makes them feel safe, the half that keeps their story intact. And when you live like that long enough, you start mistaking comfort for truth. That's what I mean by the half-seen reality. It's the way we edit what we notice, how we filter what people say, and how we defend the parts of our identity that we've built around illusions. The scary part is, it's not always intentional. Most people aren't lying to themselves on purpose. They've just never learned how to look past the image they're emotionally attached to. In relationships, in business. This blindness shows up when you only hear what confirms how you already feel. You think your partner doesn't listen, when in reality, you've stopped hearing them too. In society, it shows up when people argue to win instead of to understand. We build echo chambers, not connections. And that's why I always say, it's better to understand than to be understood. Because when you chase being understood, you build walls. But when you aim to understand, you start breaking them down. You begin to see things and people for what they really are, not what you want them to be. This video isn't about judgment, it's about clarity. Because once you start seeing the full picture, even the parts that hurt, you start living differently. You communicate differently. You forgive differently. You stop defending illusions and start building understanding. Cognitive blindness isn't stupidity. It's survival. The human mind isn't built to see clearly. It's built to protect stability. Every belief, every narrative we hold on to serves one purpose: to keep the world predictable enough for us to function in it. That's why we defend our illusions with such intensity, because truth, real truth, is destabilizing. When someone threatens the story you live by, your brain doesn't analyze. It reacts. It rejects. It creates distance between you and discomfort. You convince yourself they're wrong, or cruel, or hell, even crazy. Anything that allows you to stay safe inside your own perception. That's the hidden defensive mechanism behind most conflicts. We tell ourselves we're seeing clearly, but we're just managing fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of loss. Fear of realizing the version of ourselves we built isn't entirely real. And so, we craft illusions to keep those fears at bay. Illusions of moral certainty, emotional control, even personal virtue. The irony is that these illusions don't protect us. They, in fact, isolate us. The more you defend what isn't true, the further you drift from what is. You see this blindness everywhere once you start noticing in relationships. People cling to illusions of who they want their partner to be. They edit what they hear, reinterpret what they see, and defend the fantasy they build. It's not that they don't love the person. It's that they are addicted to the idea of them. A man who feels unseen blames his partner's silence, but never his own withdrawal. A woman who fears rejection hears criticism in every pause. Two people stop listening, not because they've fallen out of love, but because both are trapped in the image of what love should feel like. In society, the blindness multiplies. We live in tribes of confirmation, algorithms feeding us only the angles we agree with. We mistake echo chambers for evidence. We interpret disagreement as attacks. I know you've seen it. We've confused connection with validation. And so we scroll, post, defend, repeat. Always trying to preserve the illusion that our side is the rational one. It's everywhere, from politics to parenting, from religion to relationships. The fear of seeing what's real keeps people spinning in circles, mistaking noise for truth. Here's what most people never realize. The illusion doesn't protect you from pain. In fact, it actually extends it. Avoidance feels like safety until you realize it's what keeps you trapped. When you defend your illusions long enough, the truth doesn't just disappear. It rots beneath the surface. Awareness hurts. Yes, it burns. But that burn is the sign that something false is falling away. And that's the choice every person eventually faces: comfort or clarity. Because you can't heal what you refuse to see. You can't grow while protecting the same illusions that keep you blind. The world won't become less confusing once you see it clearly, but you will. The noise quiets. The chaos starts to make sense. You stop reacting and start recognizing. That's when you realize most people aren't your enemies. They're just defending illusions of their own. Seeing clearly doesn't mean tearing everyone else's illusion down. It means learning to hold space for truth without weaponizing it. You can't force people to wake up, but you can live awake yourself. Listen more than you react. Question your assumptions before your anger. Speak with clarity, not with ego. When you understand that most people defend illusions out of fear, compassion replaces resentment. You stop fighting for dominance and start standing for truth. That's what emotional maturity really is. Not knowing everything, but being able to see without distorting. So, start with yourself. Catch the lies you tell to feel safe. Notice the patterns you defend, even when they hurt you. That's where understanding begins, in your own self-honesty. Because when you stop protecting illusions, you make space for something real. But most people will keep protecting their illusions, not because they are blind, but because seeing the truth means losing the stories that hold them together. And that's a kind of death most aren't ready for. But for those who choose to see, even if it costs them comfort, the reward is peace. Not the kind that comes from everything being okay, but the kind that comes from finally seeing things as they are. You stop needing to be right. You stop needing to be heard. You start understanding quietly, steadily. Because once you see clearly, even in a half-seen world, you understand why it's always better to understand than to be understood.